Hi guys, and welcome back to day 20 of Inktober. So today I wanted to do a pretty basic portrait. I find them really relaxing to do, so it was a good choice for me. I do try to space them out so I don't do as many similar pieces in a row, so I do try, and I decided to reward myself today with letting myself just do a nice portrait. And she's a vampire, which I actually really love. I love drawing vampires, especially when I can use more colors and add some blood. This time I kind of had to hint at it a little bit more because I do still want to stay pretty in the gray zone. Also, sorry if I sound really weird. I have a cold, so I feel like I sound super weird. But anyways, moving on. For this one, I looked up a lot of fashion photographs and jewelry models for this kind of a pose. It's actually really helpful if you want something that just looks kind of stylish but interesting of a pose, but neutral enough that you can really mold it into what you're using it for. I really love finding fashion references like that because they are intended to look very interesting and attractive, but they're also meant to showcase a secondary aspect of the photo, that is the clothes that they're wearing or the jewelry or whatever the case may be. So it works really well for being able to find something that lets you build on top of it and turn it into a concept of your own. So I really do love looking through those for portraiture like this, and I did find one that I really liked, and I loved the shape of her hair and I loved the shape of her eyes. It was a little bit more rounded than I've been doing a little bit lately, so I was really excited to find that particular photo reference, something that I could take some of the differences that I'm not using actively and really push those so that I'm getting more variety in the way that I'm executing faces. And her hair was super fun to ink. Actually, every step I really enjoyed working on her hair because I was trying to achieve a different texture. It forced me to think of it in a different way and to really figure out the best way to create it through the line work, which is something that I love. I love the problem-solving aspect of illustrations and creating art. I love running into a problem that needs a solution and finding it. And there are so many things that you can work with to fix problems and create problems that need fixed, which I love. I just love this building up process, this experience of being able to find something that works and make it happen. It's just so happy and exciting. But yeah, this one, it was fun because it was a break from how I normally just robotically do hair. So it was a chance to think about it a little bit more and create a different look that really pushed me beyond what I'm normally doing. So I loved that. I also, as I build it up, I enjoyed the fact that it, this is skipping a little bit ahead, but when I was working on the ink washes, I knew that her hair was going to be darker and that potentially a lot of the line work could be a lot more obscured, which was something that I was thinking about. How can I counteract that? Because I didn't want it to be too light. I wanted it to be darker hair, especially considering how I wanted the values to play out. I wanted the balance to be there that way. So in the end, I gave her hair a pretty dark medium value, and then I added a darker value for the bun part of her hair, which would be receding in the background, to give it a little bit of a difference between the hair around her head and the hair that was further behind, and that just helped it so it wasn't one homogeneous shape. And I also used that darker color to go in and just add shadows to different sections of the hair as well. But ultimately, when I was done with that, it was missing a lot of definition that I wanted. And this is actually, when I'm looking at this piece in real life, you can see the line work that I put in originally a lot clearer. It shows a lot better. But in photographs, it just kind of gets lost a little bit, which is okay. I knew that was going to happen when I first even started this piece, because I've definitely experienced that, doing really intricate line work and then filling it in with dark ink washes, which, side note, I actually really love. I find it really satisfying to create these really filled in shapes and then fill it in with ink wash. It just really brings it all together. But anyways, after I finished with the ink wash, and yes, I know I'm way ahead. I don't think I'm even close to where I'm talking about, but I take my white gel pen and I go in and I just used it to re-emphasize certain lines that really delineated one shape of hair that's coming forward from the neck. So I worked on it in a layer kind of a way so that it really just helps give it a little bit more dimension and shape. And I did follow some of the line work that I had already created, so it still had that integrity of where I'd already put the lines and the shape that the hair was creating. And I loved that effect. That was so satisfying to work that way and to be able to have some line work that was a little bit more subtle, which I think really just helped it so that it wasn't an overwhelming mass of lots and lots of lines. It made it so that those are a little bit more subtle, and it helped some of them pop out since they were white line work. I just really love the effect of this hair. So it's a technique that I think I'd really like to explore more in the future. This intricate line work, dark ink wash that hides it a little bit more, and then white gel pen that pops it out. And the next step that I'm about to get to is one of my all-time favorites, actually, is the eyes. I really enjoyed designing her eyes. I wanted them to look not so bizarre. I wanted her to look like a friendly vampire. I don't know. I wanted her to look nice, but I still wanted it to have a really eerie look to it. And so it was interesting to be able to design this one out. I got a lot of inspiration from Pinterest, as usual, from other ways that eyes were depicted, but ultimately I decided on giving the whites of the eyes a little bit darker than normal, which, this is another side note, I absolutely love doing. I love giving the whites of the eyes a darker look, even just a hair darker than it would normally be, because it allows me to go in with this highlight and give it a little bit more of a pop, so the eyes pop, so they look more interesting, I should say. And it makes it look a little bit like they're crying a little, which I actually really love that look. But anyways, I went with a darker white of the eye, and then I gave her iris almost completely pure white. I do end up giving it a little bit of a shadow just to give it a three-dimensionality, but the iris itself is like a white. And then the pupil is dark again, so it creates kind of this target effect look, which I really loved. And I added these little tiny veins that come out from her tear duct. I need to learn the actual names of the anatomy of the eyes, but it was something that I was paying attention to, a few more details than I normally do in the eyes, and I really enjoy being able to figure out ways to make those happen, as well as make the overall appearance that I wanted for the eyes to happen. And also, I mentioned this on an earlier video where I was having these frustrations with these pens because they would work beautifully and then they wouldn't. And it probably seems pretty obvious, but I figured out the solution is simply to clean off the nib on I have a lot of scraps of paper towels around when I'm using wet medium, so I just clean it off and it works great. I have found the right appropriate amount of pressure for it to roll correctly and layer the ink, and I find that if I accidentally push too much, and it creates this it's almost like a canal where the ink gets pushed to the sides, and then the middle there's a gap in the ink. I can just go very lightly over it with the pen and it'll roll ink back into the center of that line. And if I really mess it up, I need to let it dry and then go back in on top of it to clean it up or to darken it and make it more opaque. That is. But yeah, I'm getting better at it. I'm figuring these pens out a little bit more, which is good. I really love the effects that I can create with them, and honestly, I might even be interested in finding more colors of these gel pens, ones that are still light so they can be used as highlights, but not necessarily pure white, like a buttery yellow or colors like that. I think would be really fun to play with as far as adding these highlights and extra special effects with them. And I'm actually pretty happy with the composition of this one. But as always, I do have critiques. I do have things that I could fix for this one. I think to balance out the composition just a little bit more, I think I could have had a little bit more weight in the lower right-hand corner of the piece. So because her hair is so dark and it's touching both sides of the corners up in the upper left-hand corner, it has a lot of weight to it in the top of the piece. So I think that I could have made it visually feel a little bit more structured and grounded if I had given a little bit more more material for what she's wearing down in the lower right hand corner, or if I had made it darker, or if I had made it rise up on the side of the piece a little bit more. Those are all options that could have given it a little bit more visual weight and balanced out just a little bit more. And that is it for today's Inktober. The original, as well as prints of this one available. So if you'd like, there's a link in the description as well as in the end card. And I have grouped all of the prints together, so there's one listing for all of my Inktober, so you just have to go in there and select what day you'd like. And I have pictures of all the days at the bottom too, so it's nice and easy to figure out. But yeah, that is about it for today. I do post daily Inktober videos, so I'll be back tomorrow with another one. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.